you like to share?
Has a chair here? I think, yeah. Oh, no. Okay.
Hey folks, good evening. Welcome to the March 4th, 2020 City Council meeting, which is now in session. Does anyone have a declaration of a conflict of interest of any kind? No?
I have to declare, because of a probable change in my retirement, that I might have a conflict of interest with the discussion for the future charges for the building department, but that's all I have to say.
Okay, approval of minutes from our last regular meeting.
Just
Okay, sidebar. Brief 5-minute recess. No, 5 seconds.
Maybe we can prove minutes with that.
Probably good.
Especially because I'm not down with your class.
just because you do work here. That's what we said.
Can I tell them they need to increase their goal?
Do whatever, but that's all you have to do.
Would anyone else like to declare a conflict?
Apparently, because I'm a builder in Gerhardt, I have a potential conflict of interest in talking about building fees.
Okay. Duly noted.
And that's really not slated for much of a discussion. It's going to be more of a short presentation and then, but good
It's
call.
on the agenda, and they said that it has to be stated every time it's brought up from now
Okay, thank you.
Good enough.
on. Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks. Okay, next up is approval of minutes from our regular meeting from February 5th, 2020. Does anyone have any changes they'd like to make or approval of minutes?
Motion to approve.
Do we hear a second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So moved. Next up, we have Planning Commission report. Does anyone have any comments or questions about the Planning Commission report?
I have two comments, questions. One would be, can you just give us a briefing on the cottages at Gerhardt? And also, where are we on the parks plan? Are we on track with our timeline?
As far as the cottages at Gerhardt, I don't really have anything different to report. That was just me keeping the Planning Commission in the loop about the development group that has approached the county to develop that space. And because they are not in our urban growth boundary and because they are not in the city of Gerhardt limits, that is up to the county, although the county did ask the city staff for comments in regards to that. So they're still working through that.
And it's not in our urban growth boundary?
No. And then
It's not part of this report, but the parks plan.
Thank
Are we
you.
on track?
yeah, parks plan, we're on track, and Carol's going to begin engaging in that more heavily starting this month at the Planning Commission meeting. That she's already started to refine some maps and gather some data. So we're on the timeline.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Next up, we have the mayor's report. And I've got just a brief report I'm going to read with a couple of topics on there, and also just a reminder that it'll be available online on the mayor's blog as well, starting tonight. And there's some good links for information on there, especially about the coronavirus as well. So I wanted to start out with what's on a lot of people's minds, which is the coronavirus. And with the outbreak in nearby states and Oregon, it's important we all stay up to date with the facts and try to prevent the illness from spreading. I just wanted to go over a couple simple things that can be done to stay healthy. Obviously, wash your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds after using the restroom or before you eat and before you touch your face. Use hand sanitizers with at least 60 to 95% alcohol. Avoid contact with people who are sick and stay at home when you're not feeling well to avoid spreading illness. And then clean and disinfect frequently touched objects and surfaces where germs may reside. According to the CDC, the virus is spread person to person in close contact with each other via respiratory droplets produced when an infected person coughs or sneezes. The droplets land on the noses and mouths of the other people who then inhale them. There's also a possibility of the virus spreading by touching a surface or object with the virus and then a person touching their mouth, nose, or eyes. But this is not thought to be the main method of spread. Locally, I've been in touch with the other local mayors in the area, and we are monitoring the situation and keeping each other informed. The county public health staff is actively working with CDC, OHA, and other local stakeholders and hospitals to prepare for a possible outbreak in our area. And Sarah Nebeker, Commissioner Nebeker here is here from the county, so she's going to hopefully talk a little bit about that in her update later on today, possibly. And there's also some great links for information and facts on the virus. So I'm going to post those online tonight, but you can go to the Oregon Health Authority website, there's a webpage on it there with updates. Of course, the CDC website, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, has some updated info. Our Senator Merkley, he has a great website at www.merkley.senate.gov/coronavirus, which has got some great Oregon-specific updates on there. And then our Clatsop County website, there's a public health page with some information on there as well. So it's just good places to keep update, find out what's going on in the area, and if there's any cases diagnosed in the area as well. I wanted to give a quick fire station update. As I mentioned at the last council meeting, my hope is that we can get a fire station bond on a ballot sometime this year. As we progress in our due diligence process, which includes property negotiations, finalizing costs, and looking at different bond scenarios, we will continue to keep the public updated. The good news about a possible bond is, from the information that we gathered, we can create a scenario where a property tax increase for the bond would be minimal. And then after 5 years, the increase could go down to zero as the city water bond comes off the books in 2025. So that's something that we can look at as we're progressing with looking at different bond scenarios. We will continue to progress and keep you posted on the next steps when we have relevant updates and are able to comment on negotiations and things of that nature. And as always, please thank your local volunteers that help keep us safe. Thanks, guys. Quick update on the Gearhart Elementary School property. Over the last month, had some great conversations with folks who may be interested in purchasing the grade school property. While nothing is imminent and the conversations are more informal and exploratory, I have been very impressed with some of the ideas I've heard. Folks are wanting to do things that specifically benefit the community, such as preserving park space, community space, and also looking at possibly addressing affordable housing needs in the area in the county. The city has received multiple calls from interested parties seeking information, and I know a lot of that information is being given by you and Cheryl and Gail as well, so thank you. So I'm pretty anxious to see what happens next. And that's all I've got. Next up, we have the council reports, and we'll start with Councilor Fackrell.
I have nothing to report.
Councilor Jesse.
I have nothing.
Councilor Smith.
Nothing.
Councilor Cochran.
I have also done some research on the school, looking primarily to understand more fully the how it came that the school owns the property. And so I've talked to Chad a few times and really would like to get that title search just so we know up front. Go ahead, Sarah.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Paulina. I just heard from the county manager, and he said that it does not revert to the county. The county doesn't have any jurisdiction over it.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry I didn't get back to you sooner. I just.
No, that's okay. But if we can get that, we would just know exactly how the land, which was Gerhardt's at one time, because we were our own school district for a number of years before we were incorporated into the Seaside School District. And that's the missing piece in my mind that we still would like to understand. I would like to understand. With regard to the CERT team, we have 5 new members that have been trained, and they've been given their backpacks. They're coming to the meetings, and they seem excited and enthusiastic to work with the rest of our team. There is a Train the Trainer class, which is to teach you how to teach CERT. That's going to be a county-wide class, April 17th to the 19th. And I truly hope that Gerhardt can be a part of that by someone who is CERT certified. The CERT group is working on a community cash aspect, looking at sanitation supplies primarily. And I would say that that's to supplement your own personal preparedness with regard to sanitation. But we're looking at things like toileting and lime and, towels and wipes and just things that you would need in a big emergency. We're going to do a purchase, and those will be stored up at the city cash site. And finally, Chad and I should be about to the final draft of the, this is a employee's handbook that's been updated, really a risk management document, and I think he's working on pretty much our final draft, and we'll have that to you for your review soon. That's all I have.
Great, thank you, Counselor. Next up, we have city officer reports. City treasurer, Gail, anything to report?
I have nothing.
Other than thank you for the financial statement again this
You're
month.
welcome.
In our packets is the updated city financial statement for folks to peruse. Next up, we have our city attorney, Peter Watts.
Nothing to report. There's some housing-related legislation that's been going through in Salem, but with things there that are currently, I'm not sure if it's going to progress in the Senate, but that would impact some of our zoning potentially.
Great. Next up, we have our city administrator, Chad Sweet.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Just signed an agreement, finally signed the agreement with the DLCD for the $25,000 grant left over from their tsunami overlay zone project to where they're going to provide us with up to $25,000 to help us in the design of the foundation systems for the fire station when we get to that point. So that agreement's been signed by both parties, and we'll be able to use that when appropriate. I've been working with the Energy Trust of Oregon. Resident Bibi Michelle wanted to know about putting some solar in Gerhardt, so we've been investigating that. And in conversation with the Energy Trust of Oregon, and Bibi's idea of being maybe at the water treatment facility, in working with the Energy Trust of Oregon, we kind of came to the conclusion that it may be better to kind of hold our water with that project for the moment, because the upcoming fire station project, they could also help us in a lot of the design and save us some design monies for that, and that might even further benefit the community. So we're going to start getting into some conversations about that, and they will be helpful to us during the design phase. As we alluded to, we have our emergency cash container program, is about to hit the ground running. This is where, thank you for bringing the brochure that's available out in the lobby. This is where individuals and families can buy a 30-gallon barrel, and we'll store it for them up in an area outside the tsunami inundation zone. We're just working on finishing up the memorandum of understanding. We've got the barrels in place. We have a timeline for doing this. So the first date that this is going to be available is going to be April 19th, and that's a Saturday, or excuse me, a Sunday. We changed that. From 10 to noon, people will be able to, prior to this, people will be able to buy the barrels, put the supplies in it that they'd like, and then bring those barrels to the fire department. We'll register the families in those barrels, and then we will take them up to the secure site. So there's going to be 2 opportunities for this. The first, only 2 times per year is when we're going to put things into the containment site. So the first is Sunday, April 19th, 10 to 2. Or 10 to noon. We're going to be blogging that information out here at the beginning of next week, and the brochures describing the program are available at the front desk. And then we'll do that again in October. So please keep an eye on the blog. Grant updates. We had an amendment to our State Homeland Security Program grant to where they're allowing us, because the prices that we gave them when we wrote the grant actually came in under. That includes shipping and the items that we were looking at purchasing, which involves foodstuffs, water purification, tarps, hammers, nails, ropes, that sort of thing. Came in much lower. They were allowing us to amend the grant so we can actually add another 20-foot connex using this grant, and also all of the shelving that we need. So were things that I was anticipating going to the hazard mitigation fund for, now will be taken care of in that grant. And we have grant business to do later that will kind of clarify that a little bit more too. We did write a grant for the Oregon State Weed Board, and we're not funded for that, but we did go for that. And that was in regards to the vegetation around town and the dunes. So we're just awaiting feedback, and when we get that feedback, I'll share that with you. Of note, we have a council work session Tuesday, March 31st at 6:30 p.m. And we're going to be discussing the agenda insofar as the C1 zone amendments. That's all I have, Mayor.
Great, any questions for Jeff? Nope. Okay, correspondence. We have a few pieces of correspondence. Does anyone have any questions or comments on any of that?
I do.
Go ahead, Councilor Justin.
The proposed concert in the park. I don't know if we as a council are supposed to say anything about that, but I would like to show support for that. I've heard about a number of them on OPB in the past, and it sounds like a neat thing to do. So.
Cool.
Is it something we have to take action on?
No. So to clarify, this is a organization that will be bringing in a baby grand piano, putting it in the park, and then selling tickets to a concert without any speakers. The concert music will come from the piano directly into headsets, and people are encouraged to walk around this natural area, such as Leslie Miller Park, and listen to this music while being in the environment. They are a nonprofit group. They've done it quite a few different places. It's very popular, and they sell a limited amount of tickets. They are worried about parking. They're working on some issues with staff to make sure that that's good. And they will be offering some complimentary tickets to both the city of Gearhart and the county as part of their nonprofits. There is no standards for park events, and in the past we've just asked people not to have any alcoholic beverages or any tents or structures for any of their events. But we also warn people that want to use the park for maybe a small wedding reception without alcohol and without tents, that there could be a soccer game going on next to you, and there's nothing that we would do to reserve the park on an individual basis. So I warned them of all these things, and they're going to prepare for it.
So Oregon changed the law on this a year ago as far as is who needs to pay for music. And so if the music is still covered under a copyright, which is anything, I think, at this point after 1927, unless sometimes they forget to renew, and so there's some other music that is covered. But if that's the case, and we're allowing our venues to be used, then turns out there's 3 music licensing companies that own and collect the copyrights, and they all require us to pay. They would require the city to pay them annual fees. So it's just, if these people are going to perform, it's important that they understand that they need to perform non-copyrighted music, because it wouldn't make sense for us to negotiate those agreements for a concert in the park.
I'll check with them on that.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, it is classical.
Could be original.
Yeah.
I'll check with them on that.
And could they actually have the license to play the copyrighted?
It used to be, that is how it used to work, and it used to only apply to venues where they collected money to go in, like a cover or sold tickets versus, but now it's actually the owner of the venue, and so they've commenced proceedings against a couple of jurisdictions. There's one copyright company in particular that's a bit more litigious than the other two. So they've been kind of sending some aggressive letters.
All right, any more questions on any of that? Okay. Next up, we have a visitor section. And I'd like to kick things off with Josh and Steve from the Gerhardt Fire Department. And we're going to talk a little bit about Fireman's Ball. Chad, you want to kick things off?
Come on forward, guys. This is firefighter Josh and firefighter Steve,
Thanks for
both
coming down.
volunteers with Gerhardt, and they are also part of the association. They're the president and vice president of the volunteer association. Gentlemen.
Great.
Good evening, thank you for your time, Mayor and City Council. I'm Josh, this is Steve, he's the president, I'm the vice president, so just to make that clear. We're just here to ask your permission to be able to hold our annual firefighters ball on May 23rd. It's the Saturday before Memorial Day. We hold it every year, and just wanted to see if we could get your support for that.
Thank you, guys. And that's just a resolution, right?
It could even be consensus.
Okay.
And the city, if approved, will issue them a noise permit just in case there's any issues for that evening.
Well, do we have consensus to have another wonderful Fireman's Ball? Fire's Ball, excuse me. Yeah.
I have a question. It's a great event, but how much does the firefighters association make off of one night like that? I mean, you don't have to tell me, I'm just curious.
We bring in a considerable amount of donation money that evening. I'm not exactly sure how much we brought in last year, but it was a considerable amount. So,
Well, it's a great event.
this year we're trying to raise some money to be able to buy some water rescue gear. We have some people certified for water rescue, and we're trying to buy some water rescue gear.
We just currently got some ropes, new rope equipment for high angle rescue, because we have some people that are certified in that now. We were able to get some, the winch repaired on apparatus 51, and then, what's the other thing we just got? A new, is it a 5-lead or 12?
Yep.
A new 5-lead heart monitor, AED, that was severely outdated. So,
Awesome.
All money that was raised last year.
yes.
Great.
What kind of water rescue equipment would you be getting?
Right now, we're looking at getting the actual gear to be able to go into the ocean.
Like the
So
dry suit?
wetsuits, vests, the rescue gear, things like that.
Anything that has to do with, driving in the water or whatnot, that's going to come, that's not even
Like a
on the-
ski doo or something?
Yeah, that's not even on the table yet. We're just trying to get the certifications and the equipment just to get in the water, so.
That's great.
And Rita, to answer your question, it's approximately $20,000 that they raise after all of the expenses from buying the beverages and the tent and all of that they raised.
And then they spend that association money. They vote on it themselves, and they spend it as they see fit. And those funds then do not have to be used from the general fund. So by raising this and doing this, they're actually saving the city some money on the specialized equipment.
Any other questions for anybody? Well, thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for everything you do. We really appreciate it, and looking forward to another firefighter's ball.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, next up we have our building official, Mark Bryant, and we're going to talk a little bit about building permit fees. Mark?
Just in case people haven't noticed, I have an assistant full-time with me, in the building department, and it's Taylor Cameron.
Welcome.
Great addition. Great addition. So in 2004 was the last substantial permit fee changes for all the building permits. But in 2010, that's when they addressed the increase for the residential, your regular house, residential houses. So I'm not here to address increase in any residential structural fees at this point. So a house built now is going to be the same permit fees as a house built structurally after this potentially adopted. What will change is commercial, because it's been 16 years since the commercial was looked at to increase the fees. And after taking a closer look at the commercials, they are outdated and not consistent with the other counties and cities. And then mostly the plumbing and mechanical. I believe everybody has a packet and you can look through it. Taylor had put together pretty much all the surrounding cities and counties, comparing their fees to what we're charging. Some of them are going to be updating theirs soon, so just for a cost comparison, she put that all together, and it shows kind of where we fit in there. And then she did an example of a house built previous to this proposed adoption fee increase to what it would look like afterwards. And when you look at the final, for roughly a 2,000 square foot house, 1759 square feet of living space, a 550 square foot garage, and some portion decks. Previously, it was 5,700, 6680, and then it would be, the new one would be 6,000. So it's about roughly $300 difference on an entire house, and that being plumbing, mechanical fee increases. And we're here to answer any questions, just kind of putting it out there for you guys to consider.
Great. Any questions for Mark or comments from Jack at all?
Just to clarify, so people, I know council understands, but for our visitors, so that they understand, Mark and Taylor are not employees of the city of Deerheart. So they are contractors. We contract with Mark and his company, M&B Building. And they house that building that's right outside. And so those two contractors, if you will, are paid for all of these fees. And the deal that we have with them is that the company actually takes 75% of all fees that the city takes in, and that is then paid out to their company. They use that to pay their two employees. And then the city of Deerheart uses that other 25% to take care of some of the printer fees, the cost of the building, maintenance, and some other various little fees. With the state of Oregon, all fees that are brought in for the building department have to be spent in the building department.
I didn't quite understand why we're not raising the residential structural.
Well, at the time, in 2010, the state changed the methodology and forced people to come up with a different way. They no longer allowed building departments, any building departments in Oregon, to charge based on what you say the valuation of the house is going to be. They wanted something more uniform. So they said, we're going to create this chart that's really start using a chart that's already created by the International Code Council. And it's all based on square footage. And my argument at the time, very good debate, which they said was not a good debate, but I thought it was, which was if you have a 1,000 square foot house out in the county somewhere or way away from in the mountains, and it's just a basic, 1,000 square foot house, they're going to pay for the same permit fees as a 1,000 square foot house oceanfront that has engineering, maybe a geotech involved, way more inspections, way more in-depth, maybe there's special inspections required. There's a lot more that goes involved, a lot more time spent on a house that's fully engineered versus the house that's not. And they said, everybody pays the same. I said, so the wealthy, in a sense, and which, it doesn't matter to me, the higher end houses and the lower end houses would be paying exactly the same. So I said, you're giving a break to the higher end and the lower end, so they're going to pay exactly the same. They said, yeah, it doesn't matter if it's $1 million house to a $100,000 house. It's all square footage. They said, however, to make it up, you got to come up with a formula to increase the fees on the other end. So once you come up with a valuation based on square footage, you can now come up with a more common fee that averages in the middle instead of being towards one side or the other. So that's what we did. And back in 2010, I wasn't here, but it was presented. The same fee table was presented in in Kenny Beach. They adopted it. It was sent to the state, and they said, "Yeah, that's a good compromise."
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure why that was ever changed. Because it was always, to me, it was a more appropriate way to do it. Was based on valuation. So that being said, the cost is still, even though it's been 10 years with prices going up, real estate, and then the market coming down, it's still adequate. The fees are still adequate. The commercial and the other ones are not, but residential.
Thank you for explaining that.
There's a few additional fees in here too that are brand new. One being the geological hazard report review. Most places already charge for that. We never have. The only reason why I added that in there is because when you get a geological hazard, if a house is in a geological hazard overlay zone, they have to present us with a geological hazard report to make sure there's not shifting soils or any type of geohazard that they have to be aware of. In that report, it can be fairly simple or extremely extensive. It could be a full packet. And in that report could break down that the fact that the type of soils may require a foundation to be sitting on piles. You may have to drive some piles to support the foundation. You may have to have retaining walls. There's a lot of time that goes into reviewing a report.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, and every other place charges for that time. We haven't in the past, so that's why it's a new proposed review. And the additional, any questions on that one before I move to the next one? On the additional plan review fee, that is something that is more of a clarification. And someone comes in, they pay a plan review fee for a house. This is a fee that's going to address when they want to make changes. And the code specifically states that changes are very normal. Actually, most people, when they start a house, rarely stick to exactly the way it is. They want to make some changes. And the state says that's fine, you just charge by the hour. You don't get a bunch more fees. You've already collected the main plan review fees. You can only charge by the hour. So we have an hourly fee that would apply to that. Any questions on that part of it? And then the reinspection fee is that one doesn't get used very often, if at all, but it's good to have it there if needed. And that's for when multiple re-inspections and you're not getting the cooperation that you should and normally get, and you're out there a fourth time, and they're again, most places, the county, in some cities automatically say if you don't pass the inspection, you get one re-inspection. After that, they charge for it, for every other inspection. If you don't make the corrections, they come out again and it's still wrong, they charge for it. We have not. Probably because we do more communicating. You know, if a contractor had something that needed to get fixed, you can ask around the contractors. I'm most likely going to call them up and say, hey, let's talk about this. You know, maybe this got changed. Have some communication going on, and then they fix it. So I really don't have a problem when you're in the county and you're leaving, no one's there, and you're leaving a slip because you drove 2 hours out there. When I work for the county, there's less communication going on. But when you're right here downtown, all the contractors have my cell phone number, they'll either text or call me. The communication keeps us from really having to apply that. So but it's good to have it there if it's ever needed. And I can use that to say, hey, you know, I've been out 3 times, still haven't made the correction, and you know, our time is worth money. And if it's not done, you know, the next time, then there's going to be a reinspection fee. Again, we don't hardly ever use that. It's there if we need it. Mm-hmm. Any questions on that one? That's all I've got.
All right.
Other than, you got questions on the fees?
I do have a question. Have you seen Cannon Beach's new proposed fees?
Have not.
You want a copy?
Sure.
Theirs are substantially higher than what you're proposing.
Yeah.
You might look at that.
Do you have them there?
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. I knew they were, but I hadn't had a chance to see them.
So they just came out with it?
I received them by email last week, I think.
Even if they're quite a bit higher than this, because I'm glad I'm going to go through this, it's just, I'm curious, always curious on what other cities are charging, but it would still, when me and Taylor went through this in depth, we looked at every single line item and we feel comfortable that that's a fair price. So even if theirs was substantially higher, I still feel that what we would propose is appropriate, is accurate.
Well, if you have to make a revision, it'll be okay. We'll consider it then.
But the new, no.
But it'll be cool to look at this for sure.
Yeah.
So if there's no questions or concerns, what I would do, the city staff, and working with Mark and Taylor, will put together an ordinance for next meeting to do our first reading. And then next meeting, we'll do the second reading, and then it will become ordinance 30 days later. This is treated a little bit different than our land use fees because state law requires that we use an ordinance to enact this, and they are also monitoring what our fee changes are to make sure that they're appropriate, as he mentioned.
Great.
Okay.
Anything else, guys?
No.
So if no concerns, we'll go ahead and do that for you for next meeting.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Taylor. Good to see you. Okay, great. Moving right along. Next up, we have Ken Schonkweiler, who's the ODOT Senior Planner, and he's going to talk a little bit about our 2017 TSP plan and perhaps an opportunity out on Highway 101.
Thank you. So, like the mayor said, my name is Ken Schonkweiler. I work for ODOT. I'm based out of Astoria, and thank you very much for having me tonight.
Thanks for being here.
So, I guess to kind of present the opportunity to the council, I've been in contact with Chad, city staff, as well as Officer Bowman about some of the issues that go along on Highway 101 inside of Gerhardt. I was also involved in the 2017 TSP. And for everyone else in the room, that's a transportation system plan. That is essentially the long-range vision for what transportation is supposed to look like inside of the city. I was involved very minimally in that. It was right at the tail end. It was right when I was actually moving to Oregon. And I got to more or less be involved in that process ever so slightly. That TSP, as most of you are aware, I think I remember a couple of the councilors and the mayor were still participating in at that time, made a lot of recommendations for Highway 101. So lane reconfiguration changes, some desires for more crossings along the highway, safe access for both pedestrians and bicycles along the corridor. But the TSP level is exactly what it is. It's a broad policy document with some ideas that should a construction project or a funded ODOT project ever come in, it gives some direction on what that project is supposed to look like. As of now, we have no funded construction projects in Gerhardt in our next 4-year transportation program, where we actually, from 2021 to 2024, we put together a list of our construction projects. We have a design project for the signal, but it has no construction funding or right-of-way funding or anything else like that associated with it. What I would like to do in tangent with that design project that I will be managing is run what we would call a corridor refinement plan to more or less take the concepts notified in that transportation system plan document and really hone in on them a bit more. Not only to influence the signal design at Pacific, but also to set the stage for the entire corridor. Think of it as a kind of jump forward on a construction project where you're actually developing some concepts, doing more public outreach, maybe looking at accesses along the corridor, taking safety into consideration when we're looking at pedestrians and both ped and bicycle movement up and down the corridor as well as across it. And work with city staff and the council to come up with this corridor refinement plan over the next likely 1.5 to 2 years. It's ODOT funded, so there's no match with this. And likely the only contributions from the city are staff time and council contributions. I'm happy to take any questions, but before I do, I would just say that we would really like to get started on this corridor refinement plan and likely start looking for a consultant to help us do a lot of the public outreach and the graphic design and some of the traffic analysis to support the transportation infrastructure that would come out of that planning document and really start in the next couple of months. I think there's a lot of energy from what I've gathered from many emails I've received from community members, as well as conversations from city staff and Officer Bowman in making progress on what the US 101 corridor should look like in Gerhardt. So with that, I'm happy to take any questions and considerations, and really would like to lead with an acknowledgement that the city is interested in participating in such an exercise before we spend money on this effort.
Good idea. Let's go forward with it right away.
Okay.
That's the way I feel.
I agree. And this would, part of this would be restriping, repainting some of the ideas that were in the TSP plan.
That's exactly right. So taking those broad concepts of the roadway reconfiguration, so adding a center and turn lane to accommodate turning movements, reduce vehicle crashes, vehicle conflicts throughout the corridor, and then really take care of some of the very aggressive driving behavior that does happen in inside of the city in Gearhart. I'm in contact with both Chad and the chief of police a few times throughout the year, and some of the information that Officer Bowman gives us is kind of astounding. It seems like both from speeding and crashes is that there's been somewhat of a driver behavior issue on the corridor.
Yeah,
Yes, there
it'd
is.
be dangerous to make a turn.
It can
For
be
sure.
dangerous to make a turn. There are a lot of safety considerations for anyone that would cross the highway because of the crossing distances. You have the phenomenon, which you call in layman's term, not traffic planning engineering term, the 1 car, 2 car stop, where 1 car will stop and the other car won't for a pedestrian. Whole host of issues. So I'd like to take that and kind of have a more focused planning effort and come up with conceptual designs and do more public outreach to really solidify some of this work as we start working on the Signal project and really just look for funding for the corridor.
Well, that's great. I think it's something that's obviously been on our radar for a long time, and it's exciting to get started.
Yeah, sounds exciting.
So,
Yeah.
does this project just go within the boundaries of the Gearhart city, or does it extend farther south or farther north?
I would largely like to focus on the boundary of the city of Gearhart. Are there considerations?
No, I just wondered how, if after this project is over, that they're just gonna keep going south and to have a transportation plan all up and down Highway 101, it was just limited to Gearhart.
Yeah.
That was my question.
Okay, yeah. So Oregon's a home rule state, right?
Mhm.
So we, that reflects in what is called the Transportation Planning Rule in the Oregon Highway Plan. So it's ORS 660, and it more or less says that local jurisdictions have the planning documents and the state has to work with those local jurisdictions. And that's primarily what my job
Okay.
is to do.
Thank you.
And as I recall too, the area that we're talking about, the dangerous corridor that we're talking about, pretty much extends from boundary to boundary, right?
It's the configuration is more or less the length of Gearhart.
Yeah.
Yeah, the 1.7 miles.
Cool.
All right.
It's just, as I'm thinking about potential funding sources, it seems like if we extended it at least a little south of the city, we might be able to get some safe funds for schools dollars, just because their students are going to be potentially, if they're commuting via bike or walking, as I think about, because I think that's another, in addition to all the vehicular issues, as the school district's building schools, it seems like there could be more pedestrian traffic than there has been traditionally, but that might be a source of funds, through ODOT's program, because they've got the $2 million. I mean, it takes a 40% grant, but between us and Seaside and the school district, maybe, or match, maybe we could come up with some of that, just keep people safe.
We have 2 workshops coming out. One is in Portland, and those come out in later March. If anyone is interested in attending from out of the city, I can forward that information over. But that's correct. Thank you, Mr. Watts. The Save Routes to School program is looking at kicking off its next round of not only infrastructure grants, but non-infrastructure planning grants as well. I always encourage people to think of the non-infrastructure grants as a more holistic approach to pedestrian safety. So it's not just engineering, it's also focusing on the other E's, so education, enforcement, equity, for example, and it really hones down in on the school district. It's not like we won't take the school traffic into consideration in this planning document, but it is more or less a separate effort.
Sounds good. Any other questions for Ken?
Mayor, just to
Yeah.
clarify, this planning is something that ODOT's going to do for us, and then this will be put into funding cycle.
So there's not a direct correlation between the work that we are doing and then immediately going into a funding cycle. So our statewide transportation improvement plan is a very complex funding system that essentially comes from a variety of sources, whether it be pavement, bridge, operations, signals, et cetera, et cetera. What we like to think of the STIP as is a way to kind of take a project, and then if we have other things that we can fund with other sources, we can build onto it. But to clarify, there is not a direct, unfortunately, there's not a direct correlation between working on a refinement plan and then immediately getting construction funding. The benefit of having a refinement plan is that you understand, you have a better understanding of the magnitude of costs, if there are phases essentially in this, which is something that you and Officer Bowman have talked about, of essentially just doing striping first, looking at the PED facilities second, and anything else following after that.
As funds come available.
As funds become available.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just want to make sure you got
Yeah, no, that's great. Anything else?
Okay.
Ken, thanks a lot. We're really excited about the project, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah, I think it will.
Yeah, that's
I'm
awesome.
pretty confident in it. And
That's something we've been looking forward to for a long time, so
great.
appreciate it.
We've done a lot of, I swear I'll leave after this, but we've not only just kind of done outreach internally at ODOT and how we're going to approach this, but Chad has also come to the Northwest area of transportation to talk about these issues and really talk about the importance. Some of the things in some parts of the public's mind, for one reason or another, seem kind of controversial. Whether they are or not is simply an opinion. But we've done some outreach, and it's really all been positive from outside of here as well too.
That's great.
So, thanks.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it very much. Good stuff. Okay, next up, we're lucky to have Sarah Nebaker, our Clatsop County Commissioner, with a commission update. And you may sit or stand anywhere you like.
I'll stand over here, then I can see the audience
Perfect.
and all of you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Brown and councilors, for letting me have this time. I know you have a full agenda, and I'll try to read through this quickly. And if you have questions, you can stop me or wait until, or write it down and wait till the end for clarification. So, as you probably know, we have a new county manager, Don Boone, and he's working splendidly with the county, the staff, the Board of Commissioners. Everyone's very happy with his leadership, I believe.
Very much so.
Yes. As you may know, he was working in Washington County before, and he was extremely well thought of there. They were sorry to lose him. Because the jail bond passed, the new jail construction is underway and within budget. Our new sheriff, Matt Phillips, I don't know if any of you know him, he's a wonderful guy. And he grew up in this area, Astoria. He's very personable, well-educated. I've had the pleasure of working with him in various parts of county work. We have implemented a pre-trial release program through what's called the Justice Reinvestment Grant. And, well, without going into too much detail because it takes a lot of time, it's showing great success. Pre-trial is when people are who've been arrested, waiting trial, and it's been, and still is, a long time before they actually have a trial, and sometimes a year, maybe more, and they have reoffended, and then it just causes more problems for them, but also for the justice system. And so this program, which was implemented by our county, they had discretion with the funds. What they do is they connect with these people. They just reach out to them. They text them, they meet with them, they see how they're doing, see what they need. And And this has dramatically dropped the percentage of people who reoffend during that time. It's really successful. Dr. Mike McNichol, he's the head of our county health department. And he works closely with his staff and the commission regarding the coronavirus. We had a meeting with him yesterday. Mayor Brown covered pretty much what he said, so I asked him if he felt that we were well equipped. He said he thought we were doing okay. Nobody knows how it's going to go, and now more funding will come from the federal government. We don't know how much money the county will receive, and how and when, but we're hopeful. Dr. McNichol has shown to be an outstanding leader for the county health department. He's very proactive. This is shown by his leadership with tobacco licensing. And he was on the forefront of this, making recommendations for curtailing vaping, even ahead of the state, or what we heard from the state. They might have already been thinking about it, but they hadn't passed this law. He advised the county to begin needle exchanges. And I know some people think that that's, we shouldn't do that, it encourages people, but it has shown to stop disease transfer. So disease can get into the general population if people who are using get disease from not having clean needles. So it's actually, helpful. But there's another side effect that's also really good, and that is that these people come to get their needles, and they meet with the same people, and those people form bonds. And then when someone is ready to, get into treatment, they feel there's a trust that has been built there. So that's really good. And also the people that come to exchange needles are not what most people think of as what these people look like. They might drive really nice cars and wear really nice clothes. So there's widespread addiction in our county. Clatsop County has had a higher per capita number of people in addiction. But the commissioners, making mental health one of our top goals over the last 2 years with our outstanding health department outreach and restructuring of mental health, Clatsop Behavioral Health, changes in the Sheriff and Justice Department, and our increased coordination between departments and Clatsop Behavioral Health with dedicated volunteer help from the RAHs. You may want to ask what the RAHs are. Our county has shown the greatest improvement statistically of all rural counties. Our Human Services Advisory Council, which is a council that advises the county, the Board of Commissioners, they've received increased funding from our budget to grant to outside agencies that do not already receive money from the county. The agencies then apply for grants from federal, state, and private foundations that increase the small amounts the county grants 3 to 5-fold. So it's a good use of money. These agencies, such as Lunch Buddies, at-risk senior citizens, youth groups, and all sorts of people that need assistance. This will save county resources down the road. Our Countywide Arts Council has shown the economic benefit to the county, $13 million alone in nonprofit entities in the county. And factoring in for-profit would multiply that 3 to 5 times. That's a lot of money that comes from the arts. These provide clean jobs and also enhance our quality of life here in Clatsop County. I was glad to hear that the city is supportive of the arts with the possibility of having a concert in the park. That sounds wonderful. We're making plans to move our county public works department to higher ground, part of our preparedness goals. We're also looking at the possibility of creating an alternate route to make us more resilient. We're undergoing a full comprehensive plan review to be completed within 3 years. There are citizens advisory groups throughout the county meeting regularly, making recommendations. And the Board of Commissioners have begun our strategic planning with guidance from Portland State University. Homelessness and affordable housing is high on our list of goals and strategic planning. After completing the housing study, which I know Gerhard participated in, we're looking at next steps. We're also coordinating with agencies to hire a person to do outreach with the homeless and coordinate services with them. I appreciate the building department or the building inspector saying that he would like to keep the fees as they are, increasing where they're needed, but that is a barrier to building affordable housing. So I appreciate his comments. The county donated the historic former Finnish Brotherhood, I believe it's called, Finnish Brotherhood boarding house that was in need of extensive repair. You may know that building. It's on Marine Drive. It's a big yellow building when you first come into Astoria, after the roundabout, it's on your left. And it was in need of extensive repair. The county donated it, and Alan Evans, I don't know if you all know who he is, but with Helping Hands. So he took on the project and received grants and also help from the county. Now they're housing approximately 60 former homeless persons who can stay for up to 2 years, be trained for food service, to be contractors and carpentry, and also or receive associate's degree from Clatsop Community College. These folks are put in touch with mental health, addiction treatment, and if they need to, clear up any past issues with the justice system. And you may have heard this, Alan Evans has been so successful with this program that now they're looking at him for Wapato, the jail outside of Portland, to do the same program there. Stuart Emmons, it just came up, I thought about this, gave a presentation to one of our work sessions yesterday. And he's an architect, and he's working to look to get grants to build affordable housing or workforce housing. And the cost of land is expensive. This land, possibly in Gerhart, could, if they have to compete with all developers, then it doesn't pencil out. If there is a situation like this, possibly that could be land that would be affordable to accomplish this goal. Any questions?
The homeless shelter, did you say it was 60?
Mm-hmm.
The one that he was 60 people?
Currently, I believe that's right. Oh, I didn't tell you about the respite center either. You know, we have a respite center, and the respite center is in Warrenton, and that is a place where people who are what's called decompensating with mental illness. Prior, they were going to the emergency rooms, and it was not effective, and it was costly for our police, because they would have to sit there, and the emergency rooms are not the places where these people are treated. So anyway, now we have this respite center, and it's paying for itself. It's working well. Columbia County sometimes uses it, Tillamook County sometimes uses it. It's very effective, and that's due to partnerships. And that seems to be what works really well, partnerships. Okay?
I got one question,
Yeah.
Sarah. You said something about an alternate route. What are you talking about? A bypass, or are you talking?
No, it's not really a bypass. We're looking at the possibility, because our county yards and the people who build the roads, county roads and that sort of thing, they're looking at moving all of their buildings and equipment high up. And so we are talking about since there'll have to be a road there, maybe extending it. Don't know how long it would take. Building roads are so expensive. But that would be a possibility. We would like to see that happen as an alternate route. Does that answer your question?
Alternate route for what? I mean, I
To-
know it's
to
going,
101, an alternate route to
Thank you.
101.
thank you.
Yeah.
And maybe a different way to connect the communities by hardening this route, because Public Works is gonna be using it to get, you know, the higher
Yes.
elevation is kind of what I've heard also.
Yes.
Thank you.
Can
It's
you
great
say
to
where
s-
they're looking at doing this? Is that public information?
Well, I've seen the
as well?
map. I don't know how to,
Is Crown Camp?
it is,
Okay,
yes,
so
that's
Crown
right.
Camp is one of those locations,
That
which
is,
is just
thank
above Gearhart. Crown Camp, as it's been known years ago, it's like
Oh, yeah,
talking about the old Smith House, nobody knows, but
yeah.
just right up above on Lewis
Yeah.
Hill.
Well, it's great to see that forward thinking with critical infrastructure. And I know that's the direction everyone's going in, and that's great
Okay.
for all of us.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Okay, so now we have our regular 5-minute visitor section, and that's a section where anyone can speak for up to 5 minutes. And we just ask that you give your name and address for the record. There's nobody that signed up on the sign-up sheet, but anyone in the audience can speak. So does anyone, would anyone like to speak? Anybody? Nobody? Well, thanks, folks. Thanks for coming by. We really appreciate it. Okay, next up we have ordinances and resolutions. And the first one up is Resolution 945, which is to adopt land use fees, and we'll turn it over to Mr. Sweet.
Councilors, Mayor, so this is Resolution 945, land use fees. The council reviewed the attached land use fees resolution draft at the February City Council meeting. No further changes to the draft were requested, therefore Resolution 945 has been assigned to this final draft. Staff recommends the council resolve to adopt land use fees under this resolution. So what I would be looking for is a motion to adopt Resolution 945.
I'd like to make a motion we adopt resolution 945 as written.
Councilor Jesse with the motion. Councilor Smith with the second. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so moved.
Thank you very much.
Moving right along, we have resolution number 946, which is licensing retail sales of tobacco products. And Chad, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. And as Commissioner Nebeker was alluding to, with Dr. McNichol, Clatsop County Public Health Director, Dr. Mike McNichol, attended the November 2019 City Council meeting with a final ordinance draft about tobacco retail licensing. Oregon's Tobacco 21 law makes it so that no one under the age of 21 can purchase tobacco or tobacco products. With enforcement of the law left at the local health departments, Clatsop County Public Health proposed an ordinance allowing public health to conduct inspections of all retail tobacco shops, minus pharmacies, to ensure compliance with Tobacco 21. Attached is the City of Gearhart's resolution, which supports the county's ordinance, which is attached. Staff would make recommendation based on the positive feedback from council that you resolve to enforce the county ordinance 2019 via resolution 946.
We are not enforcing this ordinance, right? The county is?
There's the option for local law enforcement to enforce as well, though as drafted, the entity that would be doing most of the inspections is the county. If an officer saw someone that appeared to be under the age of 30 and appeared to be under the age of 21, you know, they bought purchasing, they might intervene. But yeah, it's the county that would be doing the enforcement.
Right, and all we're doing, we're not adopting the ordinance, all we're doing is allowing them to enforce their ordinance.
Correct. And this is an excellent ordinance, by the way. some similarities with Multnomah County, but I think you really corrected a bunch of the weaknesses with their ordinance to make it difficult to use and specifying that this stay applies if someone appeals and all those things. So really, really good work. I don't think that you guys actually have to take any action, frankly, but it's nice because it's their county home rule. They can, via state statute, they can do this program, but you know, I think that they would, what they're kind of looking for is a show of support from you. So my interpretation of this is a law that will be going into effect regardless of whether you decided to support it or not. But I think that, you know, this is a council, of course, that has found this to be a critically important issue. So.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I do believe that Cannon Beach has adopted this also. And is there a representative from the office? Did Julia? So anything that, if you don't mind, Mayor, that
No,
she
please.
might be able to add that I've missed?
It's a really good ordinance. This is the strongest one in the state. We're the only county to have every city signing on to it, so the entire county is covered. It includes price discounts, a banning prohibition on price discounts. I'm sorry, I've had a long day in Portland, so I'm kind of crazy at the moment. And the price discounts is like the gold standard to have. We almost had a flavor ban, and we will probably be coming back to talk about that. But I really appreciate you guys taking this on and seeing it. And even though I think you have one store that sells tobacco, two.
No.
There's a campground, too, that sells.
Dollar General.
Okay.
But
Okay. This will prevent any new ones from coming in close to schools, within 1,000 feet of schools. So it's really good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? So we would hear a motion.
I would like to make a motion that we adopt resolution 946. Resolve to enforce the county ordinance.
Okay, Councilor Jesse with the motion. Do we hear a second?
I'll second.
Councilor Packrell with a second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Thank you.
Unanimous. Thank you for all your hard work on this, guys. It's a very good ordinance.
My technical apologizes that we couldn't make it time and asked me to say
Well, we know
your spirit.
Mike's a busy man right now, I'm sure. So tell him thank you for everything he's done as well. We really, really appreciate it. Okay, next up we have old business, which we have no old business. Under new business, we have Gerhart Cleanup Day. You want to talk about that, Jack?
Sure. Mayor and councilors, in honor of Earth Day 2020, which April 22nd, city staff is requesting permission to hold the Gerhart Free Cleanup Day on Saturday, April 25th, 2020. As in past years, staff proposes Recology deliver to the area in front of City Hall 4 20-yard drop boxes for trash and 1 3-yard drop box for recycling electronics. The boxes would be available for residents of Gerhart to dump trash at no cost from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. Your options are to resolve to allow Gerhart Cleanup Day, take other action desired by the council, or do nothing. It would be through a motion, just through a motion, not a resolution. Staff recommends councilors make a motion to allow the city to hold the cleanup day to reduce the amount of trash in the city and improper disposal of electronics. Financially, we didn't receive an estimate from Recology yet from their official person, but our estimates, it's going to be near what it was last year. It hasn't grown much in the 5 years as far as cost goes. And then we're also going to cover the cost of the Public Works employee to cover and monitor the situation and help people out.
I move that we resolve to allow Gerhart Cleanup Day.
Second.
Okay. All right. So Councillor Smith with the motion and Councillor Cochran with the second. And any discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Sarah has a question.
Can we vote? And then I
Okay,
already
well,
started.
let's get the vote done. So, so it's unanimous. Anyone opposed? No? Okay.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I forgot to mention about our household hazardous waste facility. I don't know, maybe you're all very aware of it. So just wanted to mention that. That's something else that the county has accomplished. It's open and running.
That's great.
And the information is available on the website, and reports from the residents is that it's very easy and well run.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
If we haven't posted about that, post it on our blog. I think we may have.
I don't know, I don't read it.
Can you read the blog?
Well, you mentioned
I
that
don't
to
know.
council
That's
last
embarrassing.
month.
I don't even know how to get on that now.
Yeah.
I tried,
Did you
I
know?
asked for to be signed up, and I get nothing.
Well, you gotta check your email.
I gotta do something.
We'll get you an iPad.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so next up we have request for hazardous mitigation funds.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council. Staff is requesting up to $33,000 from the Hazard Mitigation Fund. The money will be used to begin mass care cash purchasing. Last spring, the city was awarded a grant for $54,000 from FEMA through Office of Emergency Manager's State Homeland Security Program. We spent our first quarter finalizing vendor pricing and approved budget items and awaiting on approval to add another 20-foot connex to our line items and the shelving. We just learned that amendment was approved and the grant funds are paid through a request for reimbursement process. So per our committed quarterly project milestones, we are ready to purchase the bulk of our approved items now, such as wool blankets, FEMA tarps, 30-year shelf-stable food, and interior shelving for organization. Once the Hazard Mitigation Fund is reimbursed, staff will approach the council again to purchase the remaining approved items in the same manner. So your options are to approve the request for up to $33,000, deny the request and make an adjustment, or do nothing. We do recommend that you approve the request for $33,000 from the Hazard Mitigation Fund for the purchase, with the knowledge that the awarded grant funds will reimburse the purchase and go right back into the Hazard Mitigation Fund. We currently have $46,000 saved in that fund, $46,000 plus.
Great. Any questions for Chad prior to making a motion? Okay, would anyone like to make a motion to approve the request?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the request for $33,000 from the Hazard Mitigation Fund for the purchase of mass care cash supplies and the knowledge that it will be reimbursed.
Second.
All right, we have a motion on the table from Councillor Smith and a second by Councillor Cochran. Any discussion at all? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No? Okay, unanimous. So moved.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we're very lucky to have had some great applicants for our 2 open spots on the budget committee. And we're also lucky to have 2 of those applicants here tonight. We have Judy, who has done a wonderful job on the committee for the last 3 years. And we have Brent, who's kind of new in town and has applied as well. And so I'd love to have you guys come up and reintroduce yourself and just say a little bit about yourselves real quick, and then we'll do the appointments. Judy, would you like to start things off?
Sure.
Great.
I'm Judy Schechter. I've lived in Gearhart now for a little over 4 years. So pretty early in my time here, I applied to be on the budget committee. So I've done 1 term on the budget committee. I think that seeing an organization's budget is a great way to see its functioning, which is why I applied the first time, to see what the city is doing that I moved to. So I like it, so I wanted to do it again. I'm always looking for ways to serve, so this is an option.
Excellent. Any questions for Judy at all? All right, thank you very much, Judy. Brent, please introduce yourself.
Sure. I am Brent Warren. Do I need to give my address?
Well, we got it on the application. We're good.
Okay.
We know who you are.
All right. My wife and I moved to Earhart about 2 years ago. We've lived in Oregon most of our adult lives, 30 plus years. I've been a banker for 33 years in Oregon and involved in a lot of nonprofit organizations, mostly affordable housing. I was president of Portland Habitat for Humanity for 8 years and then started Habitat for Humanity Oregon. Got to work at income tax checkoff approved for Habitat. And then we escaped to Costa Rica for 3 years and had a nice time down there. But wanted to come back to Oregon, and Earhart was the lucky winner of our search. So here we are, and we're trying to get plugged in and be a part of the community. So this was my attempt at doing that.
Well, great. Any questions for Brent at all? Well, thank you very much for applying as well. Go ahead.
I also want to just update you that Juanita Jerez, her husband had fallen ill, so she was not able to attend, but she's still interested. As was Jeremy Davis. He couldn't attend because he was doing some youth group activities. And then Elaine Mullen had withdrawn. And then just for interest, another member of our budget committee is also here with us, Bob Shortman, who didn't need to reapply at this time, but.
What do you mean you didn't reapply?
You didn't need to because you were still currently a member of the budget committee.
Your term's still in effect.
You're still on.
I haven't been bumped off yet.
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Wait till you go outside.
And we thank Bob as well for his many years on the budget committee. Okay, well, I would like to make a motion to renominate Judy Schechter as a member of our budget committee.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, welcome back, Judy, thank you.
Should I leave for this vote?
No. Second up, I would like to make a motion to nominate Brent Warren as our newest member of the budget committee as well.
My second.
Okay, second by Councilor Smith. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, so moved. Thank you, Brent. It's great to have you here and be involved. And Judy, thank you so much again for reapplying, and look forward to our first meeting, which is
Coming right up.
coming right up.
I have no idea.
Yeah, it's
April
soon.
2nd.
April
28?
April 2nd.
Yes. I didn't come prepared for that, sorry.
Thank you all to everyone else that applied as well. And as I always say, please continue to try to be involved. We, with a lot of different committees coming up, we need all the help we can get. We'd love to get people involved that have not been involved before, and it means a lot to have this kind of involvement in the community. So thank you so much.
And Judy was absolutely correct. It was April 2nd.
I didn't doubt that.
I didn't get off work, so that's why.
I didn't doubt that. Okay, next up we have council concerns, and let's kick things off with Councilor Cochran.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about any concerns. I think we hit COVID-19 enough probably already tonight, but I will point out our magazine that we just got. There are two really good articles, and I just want to highlight them for you. One is on hiring retirees, or rehiring retirees. That's a good one and possibly pertinent someday. And this one is on, are you still doing performance evaluations for your city managers, which is worth the read too. it's not what you think it is, so it puts it right back on the council, right? So they're good reads, I recommend them.
Oh, that's great. That's one of our boxes.
I think they were last week or something.
Councilor Smith?
No.
Councilor Jessup?
I think I'm good.
Okay,
I'll save it for another day.
sounds good. Councilor Packer?
Well, I had a little chat on the phone with Chad last week or the week before about putting the reports that we get from the police department and the fire department online, because so many people in the community really don't have these statistics and don't know what we do. So are they up now?
They're not up at the moment, but they're going to be submitted along with the mayor's report.
So will it be on the
Tomorrow.
city blog or the mayor blog or?
Well, this meeting minutes, it'll be up on our meeting minutes page.
It'll be on the website
Okay, perfect.
under agenda and minute. Yeah, maybe correspondence. We'll figure that
Yeah,
out.
figure it out, because this is such a great report, and a lot of people just go, what do they do all day? So, well, here you have it, so, awesome.
And the reason why we get it at the last moment is they wait till the end of the month, and a lot of times packets go out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So, I'm sorry, but I might have a concern. Is there any way we can just get Chad to get a title search on that property, just so we know if we're dealing with something?
I think he said he was going to do that.
Yeah, I worked on that a bit. The first deeds came back unreadable because they were so old on the microfiche film. So we're trying to get that clarified, and then we're also working with Pacific Title to get us a full trio report, it's called, to figure this out. So far, on cursory search, we haven't found anything that would support the fact that the property potentially could come back to the city. But we're going to keep digging because it's some old information. Starting in the 40s, then again in the 60s, I think, there was some movement. So we're digging now.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you.
I have one really quickly.
Yeah, please.
Because it came up during the prior council concerns. So the Gerhardt Cottages project came up. That's outside of the city's urban growth boundary, and so we provided comments. One of the potential benefits of that is it would provide water connectivity, so we'd have more water. We'd have a looped system. There is an expedite in if it were in the county, it's 1 acre lots, so it would be something like 21 units. If it's in the city, it would be 46, so not high density by any means, but it would provide more homes and probably more affordable because homes on a 1 acre lot are probably going to be pretty pricey. But there's an expedited UGB process for that due to the acreage we might be able to use, that if there was anyone opposed, it would go to LUBA instead of through the full thing. So if there is some, I think before we move forward with anything, I want to have a conversation with LCDC to see if this is the type of project that might qualify, because they'd be more flexible on housing things. But if there's interest from, not a decision by any means about whether you would want to task the applicant to move forward with that, but if there's interest from the city council and perhaps having that conversation with LCDC to see whether they think that that might be an appropriate expansion, if that's something that we could do. It would also provide city tax revenue for all of the homes that right now would pay. That would be the other benefit, I suppose. Since we have some budget members here.
That would be zoned to RA or?
It's generally the city zoning that's closest to the county zoning, but I think that we would be at, what would we be at? R1.
10,000 square foot.
10,000, yeah. There's some, I think, wetlands and other that, so not all of the land's gonna necessarily be eligible, but it would certainly provide more density than what's gonna happen now.
Because it is our RA
Right.
Similar to it.
Yeah.
or county's version.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, or fears? I have no concerns, but I would like to hear a motion for adjournment.
I'll move we adjourn.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thanks for coming, folks.
Thank you.
So I think I misunderstood what you had asked me about the property. But what I was suggesting, I have already talked to the superintendent